Mid-size SUVs, a very, very tough market for any manufacturer, but I think the 2023 Kia Sorento in this passion red with, yes, the black wheels, I actually like that in this case. I think this is definitely one of the better looking mid-size SUVs. This is an EX all-wheel drive, and in this video we're gonna have a look at the front, side, the rear, the beautiful interior of this thing, and then we're gonna take this for a drive. If you're interested in this specific Kia Sorento, which I kind of am myself, or you want to check out their entire inventory, go to foundationkia.com. I'm gonna link that down in the description. Let's have a look at some of the basic spec and tech for the 2023 Kia Sorento. You have a 2.5 liter turbo 4, 8-speed dual clutch automatic, all-wheel drive, 281 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 is done in 6.8 seconds. Fuel economy sits at 22 city, 29 highway, and the price for this one is around $38,000. I don't say this very often, but in this case, I think the front end of this Sorento is probably my favorite view of this specific vehicle. The rear end has some very strange things going on with the taillights. We're going to talk about that more. Here, let's focus on the front end design. In some ways, I think this almost looks more stately and elegant than the Kia Telluride, which is the big brother. Usually it's supposed to be the other way around. The mid-size sibling have a little bit of styling in it, but don't go too crazy, and the big brother should be horizontal, vertical lines with very stately appearance. I think this looks very stately as well. I love these daytime run lights that we have down here, and the design that we have inside of the headlights. All LED, 3 big LED lights for the headlights. The grille looks fantastic as well, and as you know, this is a new Kia. We need to find out where the tiger nose is, and in this case there's no problem at all finding the tiger nose because you have it right here. You see this dip going down here at the top, then you have this bulge going down at the bottom, connecting, creating 2 nostrils, one here, one over there, creating this tiger nose design that Kia is famous for. Can we just take a minute to appreciate this design of this styling? Because Kia right now, they do have several different design philosophies. Compare this to the Sportage, for example, rounded, organic almost in the front end, and then you have this Sorento, very structured in the front. You do have a functional air vent down here. You also have a little slot right here that air can flow in addition to the wide open grille in the center. To the sides here, thankfully, Kia did not make this fake. These are actually functional air curtains or side vents in the side of the bumper, which I love. I also love all the horizontal lines that we have in the structured appearance that we have overall in the front end and all around this Sorento. We gotta include a straight front view of this Sorento because I think honestly it just looks so good. The hood lines going into the front end, as we talked about the structured horizontal lines that we have going. I want to know your opinion. Do you, in this price range, $44,000, I don't think there is a better looking mid-size SUV in that price range. I might be wrong, you might come up with something I totally forgot about, but let me know in the comments below, would you buy this one or something else just based on the design itself? Coming around to the side view of the Sorento, there is so much stuff going on here that I love about this design. But let's start up front with this feature that we have right here. This graphic feature, not sure why they put it there. It's just a plastic piece essentially with a chamfer going around it right here, housing it. But for some reason, I just think it suits this vehicle to have that on because it breaks up this entire surface of passion red that we have going on here with some interesting styling features. And then you have a super crisp, just have a look at this gorgeous shoulder line cutting through the entire car and into the very corner of the taillight. Just a fantastic looking vehicle, both in the styling and the surfacing, but also in the proportions of this thing. I think this is a trim that I would pick for my Sorento if I was buying this today. Yes, even with the black wheels, because everything that's usually chrome on the Sorento in this case are blacked out. You see the blacked out beautiful trim going around the greenhouse, and have a look at this. What do we have here? I've talked about this so many times when I review Kias that they like to put something weird in the trim in this section on all their new cars. And this is that weird trim piece that the designers just on an afternoon said, let's just add a little bit of curvature and have some fun with this piece. I love that Kia is doing that, and I also like this sharp cut line that fades into this area here from the rooftop spoiler in the back. Talking about these wheels, they're 255mm wide, and we have 20-inch wheels in this gloss black design, which again, I think overall, with the blacked out graphics that we have, the blacked out trim pieces going around the wheel arches and in the lower section and around the windows, in addition to the side mirrors as well, all being gloss black, having gloss black wheels just looks good on this design, specifically in combination with this passion red exterior color. Coming around to the rear end of the 2023 Sorento, the first thing I noticed when this first came out, the press photos, is I was thinking to myself, what is going on with the design of the taillights here? Because look at how structured they are. They're just basically a block separation with a little bit of body color and then another block here. Lacks all kinds of dynamic. Any sort of dynamic is gone in the taillights of the Sorento. But I think it also makes this for a unique design in the rear end. I do like they've grown on me very much since they were first introduced, and I love the rear end of this thing now. There are a couple of things that I would like to maybe change in the lower section of this rear end, but overall, looking at all the chamfers, you have these horizontal lines right here. You have a nice chamfer going up here with the new Kia logo. It's just a stunning looking rear end. One detail that you rarely see in this specific price range is, have a look at the rear window here, how clean and beautiful this surface is. Something is missing here, and that is the wiper that usually just sticks out like a sore thumb sitting right here in the window. But Kia decided to do the right thing here. They extended the roof spoiler, and underneath here, this is where you have the wiper installed. You can't see it unless it's activated, exactly like I want on the rear end of a car like this. I also like, as I said, the horizontal lines coming back from the front end. But if we move further down, I do like that we have some blacked out trim pieces down here in the bumper, because what this does, carves out some mass and takes away that minivan feel of this SUV and giving it visually like it looks like it sits a little higher. However, what's going on here, this feels like a sneaky little attempt to design some fake vents with this integration here. I'm not sure if that's the intention, but it sort of looks almost like a fake vent. So what I would like to do is just open this up and have one exhaust here. Now it's sticking out right here underneath, which is fine. It's just a detail that doesn't really matter that much because the rest of the design is so beautiful. Last but not least, let's have a look at a straight rear view, the view you're looking at this Sorento from right now. The word that comes to mind here for me is chiseled. You have a lot of chiseled chamfer. Look at this. Chamfer right here, chiseledness, and more chiseledness going on here, more down here, and we have this beautiful chamfer up top that we talked about. And these taillights, they invoke a feeling for me. They annoy me a little bit, and you know what that means? That means that the definition of art is looking at an object and it gives you a feeling, an emotion. And that's exactly what I get when I look at the taillights of the Sorento, meaning that this car is a piece of art. Ooh, it is toasty out there today, 93 degrees. It's gone up 2 degrees since I started filming this. So let's turn the AC on. And welcome to the interior of the 2023 Kia Sorento all-wheel drive. And what a nice place this is to sit in. I mean, Kia is just crushing it. I've said it so many times before when I review Kias that I think that they're doing everything right now, from the exterior design to the interior, to the pricing of their cars, to the features that they put in their cars. I'm a huge fan of what Kia is doing right now. We have a 10.2-inch gauge cluster, fully digital, but look at this, it sits deep within the dash. It almost sits into the engine bay. That's how deep in it sits, and it looks absolutely fantastic having it like this. And then we have this plastic framing that goes around the gauge cluster on both sides and like curves in to the gauge cluster into this cave that we have in the middle. And you also have this hat or cap up top to even further protect it from the glare of the sun. And we also have a 12.3-inch infotainment screen here, super responsive. I've talked about this system in a lot of different Kia reviews before. I love it. I love the colors of it, the fonts, everything looks nice. Let's click the map and see how responsive the the map is when you use it. Maybe the buttons is even easier to use it. Pretty intuitive to figure out how to work this thing. And if you go into setup, for example, you have a bunch of different settings for the vehicle, navigation, sound, device connection, connect your iPhone or Android to the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Go into vehicle, and you have even more settings in here for the driver assist settings. The car that we have visualized here almost looks like a Bentley Bentayga. It definitely does not look, it's definitely not a Kia Sorento, the model car that they have in here. So they tried to do some generic styling there. Maybe it's the next generation Sorento, who knows? But overall, the gauge cluster, the infotainment screen, beautifully integrated in this dash. This is what I want to see, where you have a digital both. Still have a housing for the gauge cluster. On the side here, you have the volume knob being separated from everything else essentially. Further down, you do have two vents that are very easily adjustable, and I do like the housing for everything that goes on here with this silver trim. We don't have any silver on the exterior, but I don't really mind having silver like this, high gloss silver in the interior. It looks good, it looks very classy. And the cool thing about these vents is, if you look at the design here, you have one vent for the top part that blows in this angle, and then you have another small tiny little vent down here that will blow on your kneecap. So they figured out a way to have separate vents blowing in separate direction with this integration. I think it looks really good. In the middle here, you do have the climate control settings, very easily adjustable as well. You have this toggle for the temp, and you have two different buttons for the fan speed. So nothing crazy going on here. Moving further down, you do have a lid here that you can open up. I'm not so sure about this gloss black though. This gloss black, if you put your fingers on it, it's gonna leave fingerprints all over the place. Some might have a problem with that. I have more problems with it looking dusty all the time. All the dust just shows up very clearly on this surface. But down here, you have the wireless charging, you have some storage compartment, and you have a couple of USBs as well, 3 in fact. And to the side of this compartment in the middle, you do have heated seats. You don't get ventilated seats in this one, and that's something that I would want to have for this price range. You get it in the $30,000 Kia K5 sedan, but you don't get it in the $44,000 Kia Sorento. Doesn't make sense to me, but at least we do have heated seats in this version. Further along in the center console, you have the gear shifter here. Putting it in reverse pops up the rear view camera with trajectory lines. You don't have a 360 camera in this case, something that I'm not sure if I've ever had to really use a 360 camera. Maybe it makes parking just quicker, I would assume, but it's not really hard to park a car when you just have the rear view camera like this. It's totally fine. So let's put this back in park and move further along down here. So the cool thing about the Sorento is that you do have a center locking differential. What this does is it locks the power 50-50 to the front axle and the rear axle, which is perfect for when you're going off-road. That's the most basic setting you can have going off-road. That is going to give you the most advantages when it comes to power delivery between the axles. Just have a center locking differential. You also have the drive modes here. You have Comfort, Sport, Smart, Snow, or Eco. So 5 different drive modes with the center locking differential. It's gonna get you wherever you need to go, this Sorento. Further down, you do have the automatic shut off for the engines. I always turn that off because it is very annoying. I feel like I'm wearing out the engine more than I should. Every time I go to a stoplight at a red light, it shuts off, and it needs to use all that energy to fire back up every single time I stop at a red light. I think that's why it's so annoying to me, and I always turn that off. You also have the auto hold and the hill descent control. Parking camera buttons, which will press this and the rear view camera is going to pop up, and the parking assist button here as well. And you do have some nicely designed cup holders here with some storage for your keys right behind it, right there. Moving further along in this armrest, we do have a compartment you can take out. There are no connectivity in here, so you don't have any USB ports, but it is fairly large and it is leather wrapped as well. Moving on to the steering wheel here, nicely designed steering wheel. I kind of want to have some of that silver trim that we have here coming in the third lower spoke, instead of having it just be a gloss black piece of structure that we have in the lower section. But overall, it's a nice steering wheel to hold, and it is is thicker where you want it to be thicker. On the right side, you have all the driving assist buttons and the pages for how you want the layout in the center screen to show up as. And on the left spoke, you do have the controls for the radio and the music and whatever you want to listen to. To the left side of the steering wheel, we have another version of these intakes here, like we have in the passenger seat over there as well, with the big vent up top. And then you have this tiny, cute little vent at the lower section to blow on your left kneecap. Further down, you do have a couple of buttons for opening up the trunk, traction control, and lane keep assist. Moving on to the seats here, very sporty looking seats, and they are super comfortable to sit in. You have just the right amount of bolstering on the sides here. I do like the design of this as well, with the strip going in the middle, and you have some different texture, perforated leather in the center pieces of the seats. Overall, beautiful, pretty standard looking seat, but it did add some extra flair into the styling of the different pieces of the seats itself. Looking up top, and we do have a big, massive panoramic sunroof that I'm gonna close now so it doesn't get too hot in here, but it stretches all the way back to the headrest of the second row. Last but not least, let's have a look at the glove box, and it does look pretty good to me. Can't forget about the door design in the Sorento. We have some very interesting styling going on in the doors here, because the door the handle feels like it's not really part of the rest of the flow when it comes to the styling of the doors. But we do have some nice texture up top, pretty industrial looking door handles up at the very top, and some nice integrations of the speakers with a smaller compartment, I would say, in the lower section where you can put your water bottles and whatever you want. With that said, let's jump into the back, and captain's chairs in this case, which looks super nice. Let's have a look at how I fit behind my own driving position. All right, jumping in to the back or second row seats. We do have 3 rows in this Sorento. I'm gonna show you the third row and what that looks like in just a second, but I do have plenty of space back here. I feel like I'm sitting a lot higher than I do in the front end, which is totally fine because I still have plenty of headroom. You do have a nice pocket here, some nice little vents as expected here for both sides of the captain's chairs. And down low, you do have a 12-volt cigarette outlet and a USB port with some cup holders here in the door. And you also have this interesting integration of the door handle in the passenger door as well. It is, in fact, that time. We're setting off in the 2023 Kia Sorento. Under the hood, you have a 2.5 liter inline 4, 281 horsepower, 0 to 60 at about 6.8 seconds. And listen to this, we have an 8-speed dual clutch automatic, as if this Kia was some sort of supercar, but that's what we got. So it shifts very smoothly and very quickly, this thing. And I really like it so far. It feels super snappy, this gearbox, specifically when we have it in sport. And I think, you know, this design with this sporty appearance, I think the design complements the driving characteristics of this design, if that makes sense. It has this sporty, sharp, confident feel to it on the outside, and it feels the same way driving it. It gets up and goes pretty well, this thing. And the thing is, this is one of these SUVs that not just trying to be an off-roader. Let's go into comfort here and see what happens. Quiets down a little bit, shifts a lot sooner. But this is not one of these SUVs that just, yes, we're gonna lift it up a little bit. Nobody's ever gonna take this off-road anyway, and if they do, they're gonna get stuck. That's not what this Sorento is all about, because you do have the center locking diff, which is fantastic in a vehicle. I think every single SUV, specifically this mid-size and up, should at least have some sort of off-road capabilities. Not sure how it would do on the 20-inch wheels that we have on this one, but you get what I'm saying. It still has the technology to if you want to, you could take this off-road and be pretty fine. All right, so Eco likes to be a little quick too. Let's go back to Sport, because I think that was... Sometimes Sport feels a little jerky when you step on the gas, and when you slow down and then instantly step on the gas again. It gets a little jerky at some points, but it's not something that bothers me too much. It's still a fantastic driving experience, this thing, and I can't believe just how far Kia has come in the last decade. It's a fun little SUV to drive, this thing, and it's just a bonus that it looks the way it does. I'm a fan of both philosophies from Kia, both the more organic and also the more sharp feel that we have in these cars. For example, the Sorento and the Telluride I would categorize as more of a sharp design. I think the Sportage just looks great as well. It almost feels a little bit more Hyundai than Kia with its styling, but Kia is definitely on a roll these days. And I've said this before, I know this channel started out as more of a car design sketch channel. I assume some people watching are still some aspirations of becoming a car designer. I would have two options: either go to Germany and help out BMW a little bit with their designs because I think they maybe need it, they're a little bit lost right now, or you can move to South Korea and join Kia's design team and have a lot of fun designing these cars, because I think Kia is doing a fantastic job these days with design and everything that a Kia is. It's a good value for what you're paying. I think that's what it comes down to in one line for Kia. Huge thanks to Foundation Kia here in Denver for providing this Sorento for me to review for you guys. Today, I'm going to link this Sorento and the entire inventory down in the description, or simply go to foundationkia.com and check this out for yourself. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will see you in the next video.